Hey guys, welcome to episode 14 of the Dash Gamer podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Mr. Paul James. What's going on, PAJ?
Fucking way too much. I'm knackered. I'm spent. It's been a busy few months, and I'm looking to just slow down a little bit.
You know what's
ahead
funny?
of the big console launches.
You know what's funny? So obviously there's a new look to the podcast going on tonight. So welcome to the new look, everybody. There is going to be kind of a sleeker format to go by on this episode. You'll hear a little bit, you'll hear some differences and see some differences, but nothing major will change. Just a couple of tweaks in here and there. But I've been testing out this layout the whole week. And I've been sending you guys examples of it, and I've been using the beginning of episode 12, I believe, as like just a kind of lay-in from the intro. And the first thing you said, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted.
But now I'm finally gonna put the cue in the rack a little bit. Outside of doing podcasts and that sort of thing, the writing's just gonna slow down. Matt, I haven't told you this, so
he's gonna kill you.
He'll be fine. We're going into a quiet period, and this is the time where the minnows of the team really get to thrive, while the big fish go and take a break.
Guys, if you didn't know, play it too. This is the Dash Gamer podcast, our bi-weekly gaming podcast, where PAJ, Betson, Joel and I come together and talk about the latest in the world of video gaming. Don't forget to follow us over on SoundCloud, iTunes and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. That surely helps us out. And also catch the VOD on YouTube and on dashgamer.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and click that bell. PAJ, housekeeping, please.
In case anyone hasn't realised based on my feed, I've been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima over the course of the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And so I've got a review there. Mm-hmm. I've got a Player 2 Plays there.
Yep.
I've got an unboxing of the collector's edition there.
Yeah.
This awesome little mask.
I saw that. I saw the video of that.
Pretty dope. Yeah, I had a lot of audio issues. Surprise, surprise.
Well, yep.
And of course, then my most recent episode of Dev Diary, where Jordan Lemos, one of the writers from the game, he contributed to a lot of the best side quests. Conveniently enough, some of the mythical tales, the really those legendary sort of ones. For anyone who's not played the game, I won't dive into any details. But a lot of the really some of the best side quests, in my opinion, it turns out he was responsible for. So he was on Dev Diary just last week, and there's another really cool PlayStation-related guest coming in a fortnight from now, so maybe you want to stay tuned for that.
Damn straight. Dev Diary, just chock-a-block full of greatness at the moment, mate.
Showing my biases at the moment. So if anyone from Xbox wants to come along, please feel free to talk.
We host a PlayStation show, no shit.
Well, yeah, but Dev Diary is meant to be unbiased. I'm not meant to be favouring picking sides. I'm meant to...
Unbiased.
But who cares? I play my favourites. So let's go speak to the studios that I love.
Guys...
Fuck your racing games. I don't care.
Guys, for dashgamer.com, we've got a few things up at the moment. Sword Art Online Licorice, or Sword Art Online Alicization Licorice review thanks to Bandai Namco.
You just made up some words there.
Go on, please. Just do it, because I know that you're going to say it.
Oh, weeb. But you just made up a whole bunch of words, that's all.
Operation PlayStation episode 13 is now live as well on podcast feeds. Ghost of Tsushima review, thanks to PlayStation Australia, and also thanks to Mike Pullman for actually writing up that review. Our Catherine Full Body review, thanks to the kind folk over at 5-Star Games. Our Primare Limited Edition Blu-ray review, thanks to the kind folk over at Madman. Once again, Paul.
What's a Primari?
Yes, exactly. Death Stranding PC review thanks to the kind folk over at All Interactive Entertainment. Paper Mario review will be coming on Friday by Bryce from the House of Mario, thanks to the kind folk over at Nintendo Australia. We'll also be talking about it on this episode. And a Roki review thanks to the kind folk over at United Label Games. PAJ, that is housekeeping. So
let's do it.
For those who know, we usually throw it in, but I'm actually going to get somebody else to throw it in. Miss Ellie Hart, what time is it?
Dash it's time for the news.
PAJ, it is time for the news. Let's jump into the first bit of news of the night. This comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says everything announced at at July Nintendo Direct Mini. Did you know that this was going to happen? Because I only found out last night.
Oh, no, I mean, they announced it 7 hours before.
Oh,
so
okay.
It came out in the evening and then launched at midnight our time, 2 a.m. our time. I can't remember exactly, but no, it was a very short turnaround. So no, you weren't the only one out of the loop there.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably, without diving into the contents yet, it's probably better than what they did last time, where they just kind of stealth dropped it, because that probably amps up hype more.
Yep.
Give us a short leave time, don't get us too excited, and then just drop it and send us packing. That was probably the right way to go. But the games themselves, go for your life.
So, Cadence of Hyrule was the first one that was announced. Cadence of Hyrule getting new DLC and a retail edition of the game, which is really cool. A lot of people were very, it was quite a popular edition of Crypt of the Necrodancer. A lot of people loved this rendition of the game, obviously adapting...
I wonder why.
the world of The Legend of Zelda. Obviously, everybody's hype about Zelda right now, and we're still waiting for a little bit more news on Zelda 2. Come on, Nintendo, please. Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is coming out, or Horizon Forbidden West is coming out. You have to compete. This is the rule of thumb.
Can you not cut their lunch again, please?
Do it. Nintendo? Do it. I want it to happen again.
I mean,
what?
They cut their lunch with a worse game.
Before this announcement, actually, WWE 2K Battlegrounds got a Switch announcement as well, which I'm sure Ryan Betson is pretty hard for. Then we jump into Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne is getting a remaster for Nintendo Switch. Paul, have you... look, I realise weeb. You've never played...
Setting all that aside, no, I've not played them.
Never played any of the Shin Megamis?
No.
Would you?
I've owned a few, but just the same curse that always seems to strike me when it comes to these sort of games is I've just not then popped the cartridge in or popped the disc in or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Nocturne is one of the most popular PlayStation 2 JRPGs out there. Would this be something that you would consider?
Oh, it's, time and place, circumstances. I am aware that it's coming to PS4 as well, or at least PlayStation. I don't think they were specific in terms of what PlayStation platform, but it's coming to PlayStation as well. I will have a PS5, so if it comes to that platform, then great. Yeah. So look, if circumstances, if times align, all the stars come together at the right points, maybe I'll give it a crack, but... otherwise, it'll just be one of those cases where maybe it slips through the cracks.
Yeah.
As opposed to maybe 5, which you're going to talk about in a moment.
Exactly, the big one.
That's more likely to get me on board, because I'm like, I'll jump in at the newest point with the new entry, and it'll be as up to date as possibly can be. It's not going to feel dated out the gate, presumably.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Are we worried about Shin Megami Tensei 5 being dated on its release? Because this was announced back in 2017, and it's changed already, and I've seen it within the initial launch trailer and this trailer that they just showed at the Direct last night, where they were using a lot of the Persona 5 engine within that first initial teaser. It looked exactly like Persona 5, and I feel like through its development cycle, they've obviously changed it again, and now it kind of does still look like Persona, and they're still kind of using that Persona 5 engine, but they've stripped back a lot of its aesthetic elements and made it a little more, once again, Shin Megami old school, or even Persona 4 old school, I should say.
But even technically, on a technical front, maybe more Switch-friendly as well, in terms of what the Switch can do versus PS4.
True. Would this be something that you'd be interested in?
This, like I said, this one's probably more likely to get me on board just because it's the newest point. So if you can get me in there, you can win me over, then maybe you're a chance of getting me to come back and stick around long term. Yeah. But it's purely down to whether the stars align and whether the circumstances are right that allow me to, maybe Matt Houston just throws me that to review and all of a sudden my hands are forced. And all of a sudden I became a Resident Evil fan. Maybe the same thing will happen here.
Wow. That's a good way to look at it. But yeah, look, I mean, I'm excited.
If you're listening, Matt, don't you do that.
Obviously, I love my Persona, I love my Shin Megami, and that's obviously, Persona comes from Shin Megami Tensei, the franchise itself, so this is something I'm definitely excited for, and,
What does Shin Megami Tensei mean or translate to?
It means I don't know. That's a good question. I might look it up quickly.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll do it while you're busy hosting.
Yeah, exactly. So, the follow-up story from Nintendo comes once again by Shannon over at Press Start. This one's an interesting one, and it's something that I kind of would have thought that they would have looked into at the launch of the Switch rather than now. But yeah, once again, this comes by Shannon. What does it mean, PAJ?
Rebirth/reincarnation of the goddess.
There you go.
Does that make sense given what you've experienced from the franchise?
No.
Oh, well... Well done, guys.
This one comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says, a new Mario Sports trademark has been registered in Australia, which better mean, this is more Shannon saying it, which better mean Wii Sports 2 is coming. A friend of the site, Vooks, has discovered that Nintendo recently registered a new trademark for Mario Sports in Australia. The trademark was listed last month, but only came public last week. It doesn't give us a lot of information, but it did get me thinking. Wii Sports, which is Nintendo's best-selling game of all time, if I'm not mistaken. I think so, yeah. Deserves some kind of sequel beyond the underappreciated Wii Sports Club. Oh my god, that was just no. That released on the Wii U. That was just a tragedy that happened on the Wii U.
The less said about the Wii U, the better, right?
Exactly. So the trademark is listed there. There is Mario Sports, but they've had Mario Sports games in the past too. So I'm not optimistic about this trademark filing being anything close to a Wii Sports filing. I believe that this is just going to be an extension of, the Mario Sports games that we've seen on the
golf,
Wii.
tennis, soccer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's basically where they're going with it. I don't know about it being a spiritual successor to, Wii Sports or anything like that. So
it could very well be a spiritual successor to it. And actually, I feel like that's quite likely. But the fact that you can't use the name Wii anymore. Yeah. You're not releasing it on a Wii. So let's do probably the better thing in terms of marketing is leverage Mario and his friends.
Yeah.
That's probably going to sell you more copies than a Wii Sports 2 in 2020 or 2021.
Also, a follow-up that you just sent me before, PAJ. This one is from the Australian VG Classifications Twitter account, or AusVG Classifications, or just VG Class. They registered 2 patents here. One for Battletoads. Oh my god, why? Which is the remake, obviously, the remake of Battletoads.
No, it's a new entry. It's not a remake.
Wait, but I thought that Battletoads, the new entry of Battletoads, is a remake of the old one.
I believe it's actually, because again, look, there's no point in doing that because you can get it on Rare Replay. This is like a Battletoads 2, basically.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Which is still good or bad depending on your perspective. But
yeah. And Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition is also looking to happen this year as well, because it's year 2020 is what it lists at. So I guess that's cool. Any thoughts on that?
We've got a big Xbox event that's only a couple of days away, so it probably stands to reason that we see that. Age of Empires 3 is maybe a lead up to the fact that Age of Empires 4 is currently in development at World's Edge.
Yeah.
And obviously we've known about Battletoads. Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Known about Battletoads for quite a few years at this point. Yeah. So it's about time for it to wrap up. It's interesting that Rare's name is attached. I thought that there was an external party that was getting involved here. But maybe this is a Rage 2 style situation where, Bethesda threw id's name all over the place, but really it wasn't id. Maybe it's something like that. I'm not too sure. That's obviously purely speculation, but Rare's name is attached, so maybe they've got more to do with it than we thought.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe they do.
But that makes them a very busy studio because you throw that on top of Everwild, which is their big next-gen title, on top of the fact that there were some numbers coming out today, as of when we record, that spoke about how Sea of Thieves has hit 15 million players. And, that game is, not that I've actually gone back to it, but from all reports, it's getting better and better and better. So that's good news for them. But I then don't see how they could juggle all that stuff. So I feel like they might be just there as a title. Let's leverage the Rare name, but really it's 90% done by this mob down the road.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me at all. This one's an interesting one. Also some more Nintendo news. This one comes by way of actually Jordan Ollerman over at IGN, who says Paper Mario devs are no longer allowed to make new characters that, quote, touch on the Mario universe. There's a print deadline, apparently. The developers of Paper Mario have revealed that they are no longer allowed to make characters that, quote, touch on the Mario universe or modify existing Mario characters. In an interview with VGC, Nintendo veteran Kensuke Tanabe was asked about the process behind designing new villains for the franchise, full of iconic antagonists like Bowser and Kamek. In response, Tanabe noted, quote, since Paper Mario Sticker Star, it's no longer possible to modify Mario characters or create original characters that touch on the Mario universe, end quote. This means that the team behind the Paper Mario Origami King had to come up with new characters from outside the existing Mario universe for the game, as they couldn't riff off established Mushroom Kingdom villains. New characters seemingly can't even resemble Mario characters. Quote, we need to create original characters with designs that don't involve the Mario universe at all, like we've done with Ollie and the stationary bosses, end quote. So basically what they're getting at here is that they want to kind of just re-establish that Paper Mario universe and make it seem new. I think the problem that they're kind of facing, though, in doing that would be the fact that they already have an established universe. Take advantage of the fact that you do have that, and don't fuck around with what's working. Don't break what's already, don't fix what's already not broken, basically.
I feel like this was mandated by the higher-ups at Nintendo because, let's be real, and I think we can all acknowledge it, that since Thousand Year Door, the Paper Mario games have been of a diminishing standard. From all reports, and I haven't actually tried Origami King yet, that's the first game to start maybe an upward trend.
Yeah.
And maybe this little internal rule will be relaxed when they can prove themselves, when they can prove that things are back on the right track. Because anything that they've done recently has been targeted as being fairly shit.
Yeah.
That's maybe me being a bit excessive, but they've certainly not been fantastic games.
Yeah.
Mediocre. Let's use that phrase.
Yeah, that's probably good.
And Nintendo does not want to associate themselves with mediocre.
Yeah.
And they want to protect their precious characters and IP, but then weirdly they've still allowed the franchise to persist. So and then another factor in that is the fact that they basically killed the Mario and Luigi sub-franchise and kept Paper Mario. So there's a few different things pushing and pulling in different directions here. But I do feel like just simply because the Paper Mario games haven't been fantastic, guys, let's just back off a little bit, focus on other characters, don't kind of drag some of our others through the mud until you can prove yourself again.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that. Yeah,
no, same here. Look, I think if anything, it's still a great franchise. So before we jump into our review of it, I enjoyed what I have played so far. I do have some gripes about the way that they've gone about their battle mechanic system. But other than that, I feel like everything that they've done in Origami King so far has been a step up above anything of average that they've delivered in prior entries like Color Splash and Sticker Star. I feel like a lot of people give Super Paper Mario a lot of shit, and I can understand that it completely changed the formula of that franchise into turning it into more like a traditional platformer rather than an RPG at all. But I feel also that it kind of needed that reboot, that refresh to kind of give it that kick again. It did come off GameCube. They did have a successful entry on the GameCube, but I feel like even
the first one was a gun game as well.
Exactly. But I feel like even if they tried to establish that on the Wii, there was a major risk that it wasn't going to be as good as Thousand Year Door. And I feel like them doing what they did with Super Paper Mario kind of helped them in a way. Help them understand that, hey, we can try and change this universe a little bit. But I feel like they've kind of overstepped their bounds a little bit with Sticker Star and Color Splash.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah.
The irony, the great irony in the whole thing is that Nintendo is regularly criticised for never doing anything different with their franchises. And when they do that, in the case of Super Paper Mario and then the subsequent titles, they're smashed from being shit.
Yeah.
So, there is this irony in the sense of, what do you actually want? Do you want them to just keep doing more of the same? Because at least you know that's good. Or do you want them to try something different where it may or may not fail?
Yeah.
So there is kind of this push and pull again in both directions. I, for one, given actually, before Origami King, I would say, can you just seriously get back to what you've done before? Because that worked.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll reserve my judgment till I've played Origami King going forward. But it seems like they're maybe on the right track and they've sorted themselves out.
Let's step away from Nintendo for a little bit. This one comes by way of Adam Bankhurst over at IGN, who says, Metacritic is delaying user reviews until 36 hours after a game is released. This is a welcome addition, honestly. Metacritic, the popular review aggregating website, has decided to delay user reviews for new games until 36 hours after they've been released in defense against quote-unquote review bombing.
Dickheads.
Yeah. basically. As reported by GameSpot, the decision comes only a few weeks after the release of The Last of Us Part 2, which is one of the most recent examples of games targeted by negative reviews, many of which come only hours after a game is completed. Considering The Last of Us Part 2 can take up to 20 to 30 hours to complete, many early reviews were assuredly from those who had yet to finish it. We recently implemented the 36-hour waiting period for all user reviews in our game section to ensure our gamers have time to play these games before writing their reviews, end quote. A Metacritic spokesperson said in a statement to GameSpot, quote, this new waiting period for user reviews has been rolled out across Metacritic's game section and was based on data-driven research and with the input of critics and industry experts, end quote. This is too little too late to be completely blunt. The option of user reviews has been on Metacritic almost at the beginning for games. And the problem with it is, we've seen a lot of pissy gamers jump on because they hate a studio or hate a publisher and, or
hate one choice that they make.
Yeah, and they just basically go on there and say, 0 out of 10, this game sucks, and then that's it, and it gets accepted. And
they bounce.
That is something that, obviously, with the scope of Metacritic and the amount of reviews that have to go up, Metacritic can't basically look over every incoming user review and moderate it. So they have to, it's basically, it goes straight up and whatever. That sucks once again because you get games that get user, a review bombed by users and don't deserve it.
I think there's just one simple extension to what they've done that they need to do. Don't make it 36 hours because a day and a half doesn't do shit. Make sure it's at least a week.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because, they apparently consulted experts and that sort of thing. Those experts presumably would have told them, the gaming zeitgeists, they tend to last a few days. People get really outraged about one thing and then they're quick to move on. And if people don't have that outlet to whinge and bitch, now The Last of Us might be one of those exceptions because, again, we still hear rumblings and people being dicks about The Last of Us Part 2. But typically, within the space of a week, people have moved on from whatever it was that was giving them the shits. And even 36 hours. That we have games like The Witcher, for example, that are so far beyond 36, or Red Dead, that are so far beyond 36 hours in length. You're still going to get people reviewing those games, whether in a positive or a negative sense, that are nowhere even remotely close to finishing it. The Last of Us, most people wouldn't be finished unless they're planning to not sleep in a day and a half. Which is, I guess, feasible, but not realistic for the majority of us.
Yeah.
I don't know. 7 days. It's not unreasonable. And sure, it might be jarring for people at first. Yeah. But once it starts to settle in, it becomes a standard. And again, gamers, for whatever reason, they don't have the attention span to stick with something nearly long enough. For good, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But I think that's a pretty easy way to rectify the situation. Or
I agree.
Take it even further and really squash a lot of it. You're not going to get all of it. There's people that have their bees in their bonnets.
Yeah.
But the majority of cases, that snuffs it out, I think.
I still think that the problem... we're still going to have a problem with it because whether or not... Like you said, Paj, whether or not we like it or not, it's going to be a case that 36 hours afterwards, people will still jump on and do the same shit. They're gonna jump on and be like, oh, no, none of that. Like, we don't care about how many... It's just 0. And then Metacritic have either got to think about moderating that system or it's just going to be the same shit all over again. Like, what makes them think that it's going to be any different?
It'll be easier to moderate if you give them a week because you get less people reviewing bombing in the first place.
That's true.
So, I think you get less reviews coming through, and you get more meaningful reviews coming through, which makes them more valuable, which gives them less to moderate, which makes the process shorter and suddenly maybe manageable.
Yeah.
Now it is getting harder and harder because obviously we're getting more and more games every day and every week these days than what we did even 5 years ago. But it will be easier for them to manage and potentially explore the idea of moderating if they give more time.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so this one comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says more PS5 units are apparently being prepared for launch. It's been reported that Sony will now produce 10 million PS5 units for shipment to stores across the world from launch until March 2021, which is a 50% increase to the 5 to 6 million units they were reportedly originally preparing for the launch window. The reasons for the increase is production. Is that Sony believes that there is an increase in demand caused by the coronavirus. The report comes from Bloomberg, who have said the following. Bloomberg, fucking Schreier writes for them now.
It's not because they want stock shortages. It's so that they can create the black console that everyone's asking for.
Yes, that's what we want. Sony Corp, quote, Sony Corp is roughly doubling PlayStation 5 production to 10 million units this year, as it sees the prolonged effect of COVID-19 pandemic boosting demand for gaming, according to people familiar with its plans. The electronic giant has informed assembly parts and suppliers it's radically increasing orders for its next-generation console, though logistics may yet pose a challenge to delivering all those machines on time for the holiday shopping season. The people said, asking to remain anonymous. Sony had previously aimed to produce 5 million to 6 million units by the end of March 2021. PAJ, do we think that coronavirus is going to cause massive delays on this, though?
On the actual stock?
Yeah.
As opposed to release date? Look, I don't know. I can't think of what numbers were being spouted by specifically PlayStation, because we know Xbox got off to a rocky start. I can't remember what numbers PlayStation was spouting in that first 6 months of the PS4's existence. I know they were great, but were they 5 to 6 million between November and December? I don't think so.
No. I don't think so either.
Like they didn't. They flew to 10.
Yeah.
But I think what we're focusing on more specifically here is what's going to happen in probably the first 3 to 4 months, because then by February, March, you're going to get your second wave of consoles.
Yeah.
So I think that first 3 months is kind of the real key here. And, whether they expect to sell 5 million in 3 months, well then, okay, that's going to be okay, because your next wave is only a month away. Tops.
Yeah.
And we'll understand that it's not an artificial shortage, but the difference is that, yes, they are citing COVID here, and we are fully aware that game sales are through the roof. Like, gaming is the one industry, in terms of sales and all those things, that's actually improving as a result of COVID compared to film, music, television, etc.
Yeah.
So it does stand to reason they might think, well, 5 million might have cut it ordinarily, but we might need 7. We might need 8.
Yeah.
And they may not get there. So,
yeah.
People are just going to have to bite the bullet. They'll have to suck it up. They might have to buy the competitor's console. They might just have to pre-order. Don't pre-order. We want to get ours in, all right? But
yeah,
like that's the hand that we're all dealt at the moment. We're in a crazy world. Shit's happening.
Yeah.
Maybe they can find a way to manufacture. Maybe like of those 5 to 6, maybe 1 or 2 of them can actually be ready in time. On top of the ordinary shipment. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. I think it's going to be... We're definitely in for an interesting ride come this holiday season, especially because, look, working last generation's launch and remembering how everybody reacted when they couldn't get their hands on the PlayStation 4, then, oh man, like, honestly, I feel so bad for my former co-workers, first of all, and I feel so bad for the retailers who have to put up with a lot of crazy customers coming in, demanding PlayStation 5s, and then not...
Where's my PlayStation?
Yeah, most of them are not going to get their hands on it because of the way that some of them react, and it's sad.
And because of us getting them all first, damn straight.
The following story
touch wood,
also connects with this one. This one comes by way of Joe Scrabbles over at IGN, who says PS5 DualSense controller first side by side with PS4 DualShock. We've gotten our first look at the PS4 and PS5 controller side by side, revealed after Jeff Keighley livestream about the new DualSense. And the presenter posted a side-by-side comparison of the two. So he had a presentation earlier this week where he got to use the actual PS5 controller, and he also showed off some of the aesthetic differences and the way it's used. Like, basically...
Boomerang controller is back.
Yeah, it looks really good, but I'll be honest with you, from what we can gauge looking at it, it looks like a PS4 controller, just different aesthetics, different build to it. But from his report... he basically said that he did feel a lot of the haptic feedback being something that was definitely building on the PlayStation 5 from the PlayStation 4 controller. So what are your thoughts on it?
I'm currently, as we, for listeners, I'm currently holding a DualShock 4 in my hand. I'm looking at the image and adding a couple extra mils on the top there to kind of imagine what it's going to be like for my trigger fingers. Feels feasible enough. That's not a big deal. Look, I watched F's thing. It didn't look like a hefty thing. It looked, and his description fit that. The size, it does look kind of. There's far more rounded edges, so it looks bulkier. But it may not necessarily be.
Yeah.
There's going to be a little bit more to it weight-wise because there's simply more to the controller.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just shape, but in terms of the technology inside.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit heavier, but I think it's going to be negligible. It's not going to be something that really blows us away, nor is it going to be the opposite like what we got with the 6-axis, where it felt like we were holding air.
Yeah.
When the PS3 first launched.
Like what you're hearing today? Be sure to follow all Dash Gamer podcasts on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify by simply typing dashgamer.com into the search bar of your favorite podcast provider. And don't forget to check out our gaming, anime, and pop culture related news on dashgamer.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, Paj. The next story comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start. Yeah, we had a break, a fancy break. This one comes by way over at Shannon over Press Start, who says Spider-Man Miles Morales will have a 4K 60 frames per second mode on PlayStation 5. Insomniac casually revealed on Twitter overnight that that Spider-Man Miles Morales would have an optional 4K/60 frames per second performance mode when it releases on PlayStation 5 later this year. It is presumed that this will remove some of the graphical fidelity in order to hit 60 frames per second, although Insomniac didn't exactly clarify what the game would run at in its regular mode. It is assumed that it will be 4K 30 frames per second. So Insomniac tweeted out, swing through the city like never before on PS5 with optional 4K/60 frames per second performance mode. So basically what they're saying is that we don't get 60 frames per second 4K, we get 60 frames per second or 4K. What do you think?
I'm dubious about this whole thing. I'm adamant that 4K 60 is just going to be a walk in the park for this console. These consoles, both the Xbox Series X and the PS5, are supposed to be able to, theoretically, not that we're going to have many of us going to have the TVs or even the games to actually support it, but these things are meant to be able to support 8K resolution.
Yeah.
Xbox is talking about 120 frames per second. 4K and 60 should be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
So I'm confused by the phrasing here. I'm looking at the tweet as well, swing through the city like never before on PS5 with an optional 4K 60. The key phrase to me here is performance mode.
Yep.
So you can run at 4K and you can run at 60, but maybe there's something else that's being sacrificed. Not the resolution, not the frame rate, but something else is taking a hit somewhere. Maybe load times. Maybe we sacrifice some load times a little bit for you, given everything that the console can do and the fact that it can load like that. Maybe we're sacrificing in that area. Maybe we're sacrificing some other space because that phrase performance mode, we have that available to us now. When we select a performance mode, that's us dialing back one of these things. But this is what they're saying is this is an option. We can get 4K 60.
Yeah,
that's an option to us.
Yeah,
we're not choosing one or the other. We're getting both. So what's being sacrificed then?
It's hard to know because it's one of those things again where performance and, obviously display, they're two different things, and the GPU inside the actual unit itself is only going to be able to fess up to one of those things. It confuses me that that's the case, but then again, I think to myself, man, Spider-Man on PS4 was so poorly optimized, man. This does not seem good. This does not,
That's my only assumption. Shannon's, where he's saying it's assumed to be 4K 60. Now, that's not my assumption whatsoever. But if we're going to go down that path, then I'm assuming that this is stemming from the fact that it's basically built on the backbone of a PS4 game.
Yeah. And that worries me because the PS4 game was optimized to shit.
Yeah.
It did not run well. And every time you would walk out of a building, your PS4 would float away. You'd walk into the lab, hey, Professor whatever the fuck, and then walk out of the lab. And then
let's go with Frink.
Yeah,
Professor Frink.
And then walk out of the lab, and your PS4 would sound like it's about to take off.
Yeah, but, have you seen the people playing Ghost?
Yeah.
They're playing on a base PS4 and the message pops up saying, your console is too hot and we need to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
that's hilarious.
Like, some of those are funny, but suckers. I don't know. I'm not sure how to read this. I feel like this was maybe an unnecessary tweet and it's maybe just confused people more. I suspect that the game is going to have no problems achieving 4K 60 either or and both.
What if it doesn't?
It's not going to faze me. I'm not a big, frame rate person. I'm not a big 4K person. I've got a 4K TV, but doesn't faze me that much. I'll be happy. I get that that's going to upset some, but it doesn't faze me really in the slightest.
I realise now. What if it doesn't?
We are getting to a point. Hey,
what if it doesn't?
What if it does bother me?
No. I know it's not going to faze you, but what if it doesn't?
Oh, yeah, it's going to faze others.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to upset others.
Yeah.
And to them I say, harden the fuck up. No. Look, it's basically a PS4 game anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't mean because it's being built on the backbone of the PS4 game. It's the fact that it's a launch title. So this is as basic bitches we're going to get for a PS5 title. And we know from history, especially these days because we're getting to a point of diminishing returns with what we're getting from these consoles, is that the difference between an end-of-gen title on the previous console is fairly similar to what we get on as a launch title on the new system. Case in point, The Last of Us versus Killzone Shadowfall. Yeah. Which admittedly they're going for different things and both are striking in their own ways, but there's not that massive a difference in terms of what the games can do.
Yeah.
I'm not hugely concerned. I understand that some might be, but I think we're maybe expecting too large a leap straight out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's the same way that we spoke about the Unreal 5 demo. We're not going to get games that look like that or play like that for years. Maybe not until the end of the generation. It's how these things work. Developers are learning the technology, they're optimizing, they're tweaking, they're learning a lot. They're learning a lot from this. And then, the fact that this is built on top of a PS4 game, I don't know how many people are going to give them a pass for that. In terms of those who do really take to heart the resolution and the frame rate, but it is what it is, and just wait till Ratchet. If you want to see what Insomniac can do with the technology, wait till Ratchet. You're probably only waiting 6 to 9 months. So.
I agree. The following is also about next gen. This one comes by way of Camilla Wolf over at Press Start, who says first-party Xbox Series X games will also release on the Xbox One for at least a few years. In a recent blog post, and this is kind of counterintuitive because they just announced, and you guys talked about it on Patch today, that the Xbox Series X, the Xbox One X is being phased out. So I don't understand how they're going about this. But anyway, in a recent blog post on the official Xbox website, the father of all things Xbox, Phil Spencer, addressed fans' concerns about the next generation and offered his take on the future of gaming. One of the major takeaways from the post, and one that stood out to the Twitter sphere, is the most vehemently is there won't be any first-party exclusives for the Xbox Series X during the first few years of its lifespan. This is actually a great thing for consumers, particularly for Xbox fans who might not have the funds to upgrade straight away. This simply means that Xbox Game Studios titles will all play on both systems for at least the first few years. This doesn't mean that Xbox Series X won't have any exclusive games, with third-party titles such as The Medium and Scorn already confirmed to be exclusive to the console. Quote, "You won't be forced into the next generation. We want every Xbox player to play all the games from Xbox Game Studios," end quote, wrote Spencer, as part of a long list of promises to players, and game developers and content creators based on the feedback Microsoft has received over the last few years. Quote, "Titles we released in the next couple of years, like Halo Infinite, will be available and play great on Xbox Series X and Xbox One. We won't force you to upgrade to Xbox Series X at launch to play Xbox exclusives." Patch? Thoughts?
It's a good thing no one cares about Xbox exclusives, huh? No.
What Xbox exclusives?
No,
besides
I mean,
Halo?
look, I'm keen on Halo. I love Gears. There's far too much out there that suggests that Fable's coming back, and that'll get me hyped too. But honestly, I don't understand what they're doing here.
No. Again, it's
if you're not a big
counterintuitive.
PC guy, and for example, I'm not a big PC guy. I've been quite clear over the journey that I kind of turn my nose up at that shit, take your mouse and your keyboard and fuck right off. But
yeah,
I am genuinely sitting here on the fence as someone who writes about games, records about games, lives and breathes games, and has done so since I was 4 years old.
right.
Maybe even 3. I can't remember when that Super Nintendo first got in my hands. But like from that moment, I've been completely immersed in it. And I'm sitting back going, I don't think I need to buy this thing because on one hand, I could just play Halo Infinite, for example, on my Xbox One X that I got before they cancelled. Or,
Oh my God.
and this is maybe my main thing here, even if you're not a console person, even if you're not a PC gaming person,
Yeah.
but you're a big console player, there's a good chance that you still have a PC that's fairly decent regardless, because we still like to keep ourselves up to date with decent tech.
Yeah.
That's just the habits and trends of a gamer. Even if you don't play on PC, and that's totally my scenario here, where I've got a fairly decent rig.
Yeah.
Not top of the line or anything like that, but it's one that's going to be capable of running Halo Infinite, probably at a better clip than what my Xbox One X can.
Right.
When it comes out. So I'm like, well, you're giving me absolutely no reason here to buy the game on, buy an Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
Because I can get all these games on 2 different platforms. One is I'm making some compromises, admittedly.
Yep.
One, I'm probably getting a better experience than maybe what I could get on your new console.
Yeah.
Depending on the quality of people's computer. So they're relying on, and the news is also broken this week, where they're saying, well, we're not going to force third parties. If they want to release exclusively on the thing, that's okay. We're going to encourage them to straddle both generations, but if they don't want to, that's their own choice. And we're seeing that in the case of Scorn or the Medium. But again, like Scorn and Medium, for example, they're going to come to PC.
Yeah.
They're going to be available via Game Pass on PC. So now I don't need to buy an Xbox again.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, let's say Starfield, for example, is a big third-party title. Clearly, I think at this point it's meant to be next gen only. Again, the game's going to come to other platforms. So then if I'm feeling no reason to play it on an Xbox.
Yeah.
They're not giving me reasons and excuses to buy their new machine. Now, I know Xbox or Microsoft is more about software, and I'm sure they're just waiting for the day where it becomes viable to have an app on your TV or an app on your whatever, and you can just play via xCloud and all that sort of stuff, and you won't need the console anymore. But until that point, they need to give players reasons to pick up their box.
Yeah.
Because you're not right now. If I've got an Xbox One X, I can play Halo Infinite. So why do I need to buy, or even an S? I don't need to buy a new machine for it. I've got a PC. I don't need to buy an Xbox full stop. I'm not sure how they expect people to go and buy the machine unless they're a diehard or unless they are one of the few hardcore gamers that don't have at least a semi-decent computer.
Yeah. I feel like the issue there is that they have 3 platforms to work with now. Or 4, I should say. They have Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, Xbox One X, and PC. And now they cater to 4 platforms. There's no exclusives. When they use the word exclusive, the only thing that they're exclusive to is their brand, not the actual hardware itself. There is no hardware exclusivity here. Whereas PlayStation, when they say exclusive to PlayStation, they mean no, it's exclusive to PlayStation until we say it's coming to PC, like they did with Death Stranding and Horizon. It's exclusive to PlayStation. That's where we're keeping it. Yeah. So there is a difference.
And I mean, to cycle back to my PC point before, you know how, without banging on the whole thing, like I'm not a PC guy. I don't like the mouse and keyboard. You know why I've started playing games on a PC?
Why?
Because I can rig one of these up to it.
Exactly.
The DualShock, but a controller. And so, okay, sure, like maybe I'm playing on a PC, but I'm really just playing like I have traditionally. I've got a controller in my hand. That's where I feel comfortable.
Right.
There's a very small percentage of games that are forcing me to go mouse and keyboard, and they're not the sort of games that I typically gravitate towards. Age of Empires is an exception, but I have no doubt they're going to try and make that work with a controller somehow.
Yeah, at some point,
but somehow. So I'm just sitting here going, well, why do I need to do this? Why do I need to buy a new machine? That's for as brilliant as it is in a consumer sense, it's really foolish in a financial sense. And I just when you add that to COVID, where people are like, okay, I can maybe only afford one console here. The people who bought two, and there are plenty of those that buy two, they might have to make a choice this year. And given that they've got access to all these Xbox games anyway via their One X or their One S or their PC, well, they're going to go, well, I'm going to buy a PlayStation because that's the only way I can get Spider-Man or Ratchet or Horizon or God knows what else.
Yeah.
The choice is made for them because Sony's forcing their hand a little bit. And sure, that's ethically not as great, but you're getting players straight in. For your developers, it allows them to really up the ante. They don't have to cater to a weaker system. The games are going to be better. The games are going to be stronger. They're going to set the tone very quickly, and they're going to reap the benefits financially. And that's on top of the fact that they're already riding a massive wave from, I don't know, arguably, let's take the Switch out of it because that's kind of come onto the scene later and it's storming up the charts, but it's kind of detached from the Xbox and PlayStation war.
Yeah.
There's perhaps not been a bigger victory since there hasn't been a big victory since the PS2 for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like thanks to Halo back in the day with the OG Xbox and PS2, despite the fact that the console sales weren't there, Xbox was more in the conversation because of how huge Halo was and what it was doing to gaming.
100%.
In this generation, like what's Xbox given us? Really? It kind of sets a tone and sends a message to the world.
I'd say that the
Game
best
Pass.
thing... Look, the best thing that Xbox has done this gen is improved on their established IPs, and a great example of it is their Horizon series. That was like Forza Horizon really, really improved this generation. They only had one release on 360, but it really came to prominence over Xbox One. And the thing is, with that Forza Horizon series and Playground, like kind of joining Xbox, it's always been part of Xbox. But the thing is, like, with now being, I guess, helped and backed directly by Xbox Game Studio, it's really proving to be such a staple for the Xbox brand. Forza has always been a staple for Xbox, but the thing is now with the Forza Horizon series, it really kind of overtakes everything else, and we're talking like, I don't know, Drive Club,
GT,
and all these crappy other street races that are out right now. You know, it's just...
Forza's the premier racing franchise.
100%.
But again, is that going to get people to buy a console though? Like if they're I can get Spider-Man, I can get this on this platform, and maybe Gran Turismo, which is not quite as good, or I can go to Xbox and get Forza, which is the best racing franchise of the lot, but I miss out on all this other stuff.
I get what you mean. Are you trying to say like just the one console, the one unit?
Yeah. If I'm picking that one box,
no.
Is it a 10 to 20% lesser experience to get GT worth it to allow me to then get access to all this other stuff?
No, not at all. I'd pick the PS5 over the Xbox Series X.
Exactly. That's the argument there. So like, and I'm trying to imagine myself as that racing game guy. Like, okay, Forza's better than GT, but then I buy PlayStation. Sure, I get GT, which is not as good a racer, but I get Horizon, Spider-Man. This, the list just goes on for days and days, and I just don't get that. And okay, Forza's exploded in quality. Halo hasn't. Halo's gone backwards, and that's still their biggest tentpole of the lot. Gears is, in my eyes, still brilliant, but it's waning in terms of its actual popularity.
Yeah, I agree.
It didn't sell. Now, admittedly, Game Pass is a factor that wasn't there before, but its raw sales weren't what we got with previous Gears titles. So it's taking hits, the franchise. Their two biggest franchises are taking hits. So
we're going to move on. We're going to move on because we've talked about this so long. This one comes by way of Kieran over at Well Played. It looks like Yakuza Like a Dragon might not be coming to PlayStation 5, PAJ. Yakuza fans that hope to see the newest upcoming entry, Yakuza Like a Dragon, released for PlayStation 5 after the game was announced as an Xbox Series X title, and Microsoft's first Series X gameplay stream might be disappointed. In a tweet, outlet Gematsu today shared that the game has been rated for both ESRB and PEGI associations with specific reference to PS4, PC, Xbox One, and only the Xbox Series X. So basically, there was a classification that was made without any PlayStation 5, like without it signaling PlayStation 5 at all in that patch. What are we thinking here? Like, Yakuza's been always like, it's weird.
It's a PlayStation franchise.
Yeah, let's start from the beginning. The fact that Xbox got to announce Yakuza Like a Dragon is weird. Like, it is absolutely beyond me how they got that announcement. And now
we knew about it beforehand, didn't we? We did know about it beforehand.
Well, kind of, but we kind of assumed that it would have actually been cross-platform.
Yeah, look, I think it will be. If you even look at the PEGI listing specifically, they still just say Xbox 2020. They haven't even put the Xbox Series X or anything, or some larger brand. Like, and then the release date, November, 19th of July, which is also wrong. Oh wait, yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong. But what it still does admit Xbox Series X.
It doesn't list. It doesn't list PlayStation 5.
PlayStation 5. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if this is maybe another byproduct of Xbox's. You buy it on this, you can get it on this, and how they're kind of really presenting that information is that they're kind of. Oh shit! I don't know. I have no doubt in my mind that this will be available in retail form on the PS5 the moment it launches.
Do you think this is Sega publishes the title?
Yeah.
So this is weird because Sega have a really good relationship. Well, you know what? What the hell is going on with Sega's relationship and their exclusivity with PlayStation lately? Have you noticed that
they're
starting
dipping
to
their toes in? Yeah. That's fine. I can appreciate that. But
same.
It's on the flip side, they're not going to sacrifice PlayStation in the process.
But hold on, because now we're getting titles like Persona on PC, Shin Megami exclusively to Nintendo, and Persona's already been.
But what did Shin Megami 4 come with? That was a 3DS game, wasn't it? 4 was a 3DS game, which is so we've seen this before.
But what I'm saying, usually the Shin Megami games were Nintendo and the Persona games were PlayStation, but now Persona 4 Golden is off a PlayStation platform and on PC. And now there's rumors stirring. They put out a survey that listed every single game that they developed in the past, and Catherine Full Body just got released on Switch. That is huge. Especially considering that game runs on the Persona 5 engine. I'm guessing that because Catherine has always been a testing bed for Persona, and for them to release it on Switch only tells me that there's more confidence in them releasing Persona 5 for Switch, and this is their testing bed again. So it's one of those things right now where I'm guessing that there might be some contractual problems between Sony and Sega.
Did Xbox throw a timed exclusive, some money out there for a timed exclusive?
Oh, who knows, man? It's just a weird one.
Specifically a next-gen timed exclusive? It's a weird one.
Well, it's Yakuza as well, and that is a prominent Sony title. It's always been a prominent Sony franchise.
Maybe that was the conversation, though, is that, okay, Xbox is saying, hey, we'd like for this to be a next-gen exclusive for us.
Yeah.
Maybe they said, we'd like it to be exclusive for us, and Sega's fired back and said, not a chance in hell, because PlayStation is our number one audience. And they would know that the moment they release it, Yakuza is as much as it's growing in popularity, it's still a niche franchise.
Yeah, that's true.
They will know that everyone who's going to buy that game, probably 85% of them are going to buy it launch week.
Yeah, that's true.
So they will buy it when the game comes out, and that means they've got a PS4 in hand, not a PS5 or an Xbox Series X at that point in time. So it's easy for Xbox to say, hey, look, the next-gen version of this game is exclusive to us, and you know how many they're going to sell? Not many,
None.
Because people have already got it.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to run backwards compatible on your PS5, so those people who already bought it are going to go, now I've got my upgraded version here, or at least my PS4 version runs on my PS5. I think there's very minimal gain here for Xbox outside of an optical thing. They can say, we've got an exclusive, even though they don't really.
No. I think we'll know definitely if the nails hit the coffin if Persona sees a release on Xbox, because they even threw that in the survey. They said, "Would you like to see Persona on Xbox?" And it's what? Really? Are you serious, guys?
They listed everything. They're doing their due diligence.
Yeah, that's true.
If they don't, they're showing their hand in some way.
Yeah, that's true. Paj, the final story tonight comes by way of player2.net.au from Dylan Burns over at Player2, who says, Avengers beta announced. Sit down, because this gets complicated. The Avengers game is coming out. Question mark. The one where... Sorry, the Avengers game coming out, the one where the characters don't look like the movie actors who have been imprinted on our retinas for the last 37 years. I guess you might call these the uncanny valley of Avengers. My God.
He's really taking the piss.
Well, this is the new Avengers getting a beta, but not just any beta, a better beta on PlayStation 4 with less better betas on Xbox and PC. Here's the rundown for PS4, and you have pre-ordered August 7th to 9th. PS4, and you have not pre-ordered August 14th to the 16th. Xbox One and PC, and you have pre-ordered August 14th to the 16th. Stick with me here. He says, PS4 again, Xbox One and PC, you are a general member of the great unwashed public. August 21st to the 23rd. You also need to have Square Enix members accounts have access to the beta.
Fucking layers. Taking his jokes aside, holy shit.
I'll say that's a great article, right up, by the way.
Page mentioned scroll down below the image because there's a little bit more detail there about some other stuff coming up.
Oh, okay.
The war table.
An upcoming war table. Ooh, sounds ominous. Digital streaming of event thingy will place July 30 at 3 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. This is promising. This is a promising in-depth look at what the beta and presumably the final game will offer. It looks like the game will be split between single-player hero missions and co-op war zones, which were promised will scale dynamically based on the team size and how leveled the players are. And now I leave you with roughly 62 paragraphs from the publisher regarding Marvel's Uncanny, not the Avengers, but really they are the Avengers, the hero game, working title.
It's almost as good as our WWE 2K18 or 17 review. That's a piece of gold over there.
Oh, God. PAJ.
Thank you, Dylan.
Give me a quick thoughts on the Avengers and what they're kind of like. You got to play it obviously at PAX last year. I'm not optimistic about this title.
I'm not optimistic in the sense that it's launching in a subgenre, this kind of shared world sort of thing, that hasn't seen a great deal of success. Destiny 1 started out a bit rough, it finally got good. Destiny 2 didn't, started out pretty poor.
Yeah.
Finally is building there, but I'm not exactly sure what the current kind of pulse is with the community there. Division is probably the most successful of all, like consistently positive. But then you think about what happened with Anthem. And we've seen others, like it's a really fickle market to try and hit.
Yeah.
This is a very simple sort of game in a lot of sense. It's going to be dumb fun.
Yeah.
I've got no real issues with the fact that we are talking about Uncanny Valley Avengers. That's fine. Like, whatever.
Yeah. Great title.
I enjoyed what I played. Like that demo that kind of got the teeth kicked out of it at E3 last year. I played at the end of when we went to PAX. It wasn't that bad. It's not a benchmark of any sort, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Then I played as Kamala Khan. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was the behind closed doors demo. Like, that was fun. I'm bullish about the game. It's not going to shoot the lights out. This is not going to be a 9 out of 10 game, sadly. No. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to be wrong, because I've also seen some criticisms and concerns out there on the internet from, like, in forums and Twitter and all that sort of thing, with people saying media have already written this game off. I haven't written the game off, but what they've shown is representative of a game that's likely to fall between 6 to 8.
Yeah.
In the eyes of some. But the first war table, like, I started to come around a little bit, and especially given, like, I had Scott Amos, the head of the studio, he was there talking to me while I was playing the Kamala Khan demo.
Yeah.
And he spoke of a lot of things, but he wasn't able to show me that stuff. So it sounded impressive, but then to finally start to see it in action, started connecting a few dots for me, 9 months removed or 6 months removed.
All right.
And I want to see more of what the co-op experience is going to be like, because that was the one that he spoke about that really had me impressed. We've got these solo missions, and they're going to be very straightforward. They're going to be what you kind of expect and what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
But these shared experiences with other people, that's where I think the game could really shine, especially since you're not... Well, it could be a lot of fun to have a team full of Hulks.
Yeah.
But everyone kind of comes in with their optimal Iron Man or their optimal Hulk or their optimal Kamala Khan or whoever it happens to be, that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Captain America, if they unkill him somehow.
Yeah. No, it'll be...
that's all cool. Spoilers, but who cares? It's been in every trailer.
Yeah. I'm very... Like I said, I'm just not confident in this game whatsoever. And the problem I see as well is its marketing and how it's also being... And who's handling the publishing as well. Square Enix. It's like, no. They do Final Fantasy and they do... Weep games. What the hell is this?
And Tomb Raider.
And Tomb Raider.
Yeah, and they do a lot. And Deus Ex.
Yeah, but they publish. The problem is, like, we're looking at
it's actually, all the old Eidos teams they've basically pulled in.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be a really, really weird release, PAJ. I don't know. My confidence level's low on it, but I hope they shock me. I hope it's a good game, and I guess we'll see soon.
Oh, look, it may not be mechanically brilliant, but it could be fun. And I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
The game review.
Alright, PAJ. Thanks to the kind folk over at Nintendo Australia who provided a review code, I got to sit down and check out Paper Mario, the Origami King for the Nintendo Switch. We spoke about that a little earlier in the episode as well. Scared the shit out of me when he did that. So I did say that I've been enjoying the game. It really is one of my favourite Paper Mario entries since Thousand Year Door. Does have its differences. I do have my gripes. But in terms of how I would compare it to like Color Splash and the Sticker Star, I'd say that this is a major improvement over both. There is some concern, and rightfully so, about its battle system. The battle system itself is rough. So what they've done basically is they've introduced this round table battle system where enemies get planted on this spindle, basically, and that you have to almost line them up, and then like you proceed into that RPG-esque battle. But there is so much lack in depth in terms of that battle. You can collect different items as you go through your adventure, like concrete boots. I'm not going to say too much because then it'll get into spoiler territory. I don't want to get into that. You can read Bryce's review on Friday on Dash Gamer for all those in-depth details. But you're able to pick up all the additional items and everything else. But what basically they've done here is tried to change up the game in terms of the way a battle works, so JRPG battle works. But the problem that they've kind of put into it is they've put too much into it now. And I feel like a younger audience is going to struggle to actually play this game instead of finding it intuitive or even finding that they're learning anything in terms of battle. It really kind of... It even confused me. And for somebody who's like really hardcore into JRPGs and RPGs... I was like, man, I have to go through this puzzle at the beginning of this battle to line them up and like figure out what I'm going to use to actually whack them with and then go into the battle. It's just too much work. I just want to jump in, have the battle, be happy that I defeated them, and keep going with my story, which I will say is the strongest point of this game. It's the strong suit. The narrative is awesome. It's well written. It's well done. Paper Mario has always had that a strong comical relief to it, while also presenting some serious moments. And I really felt like this entry had some very dark tones towards it at the beginning. I messaged Betson and I said, dude, this is like some Children of the Corn shit that's happening right now. It really felt like a demonic cult. And I was really enthralled. I was encapsulated by what was being presented to me through this game. I really enjoyed the characters, some of the original characters that they were presenting as antagonists. Well, it's not really original characters, but you'll understand what I'm saying when I say that.
Because remember, they're not allowed to have original characters, as we discussed earlier.
No, exactly. But I honestly think that so far from what I've played, man, I'm really, really digging what I've seen so far. But once again, and it's up on screen right now, this battle mechanic, this battle system that they've got going is probably it's the weakest part of the game. And to be honest, it's sad that I say that because at its forefront, Paper Mario is an RPG. It's a turn-based RPG franchise. So, you got any questions, Paige?
Not really. Like, I mean, I haven't dived into it myself yet. The combat is the one kind of big consistent thing that I've been hearing across the board. And the way you've described it certainly is kind of how I understood it to be.
Yeah.
I figured there'd be a lot of depth to it, but it sounds like that's not the case. No. So, can we just get back to Thousand Year Door?
Well, that's what everybody's been saying. Like, and even the people that have actually picked this game up, because it's available now in retail stores and on digital. So make sure you do pick it up. But the one thing that people have been saying is, can we just get Thousand Year Door back? And I agree with those people, because Nintendo really... the one thing that Nintendo are good at are not listening to people or their fans sometimes. And sometimes they do. But I believe that when it comes to things like they believe that should remain untouched, and we just saw we heard a perfect example today on the podcast. They really don't want to touch some of their IPs or change them to please their audience. They really have. It's like, no, we have a vision here, and this is how it's going to go.
Which is good sometimes. Because if you listen to the community too much, you become upholden to them, and it stifles creativity. But they are like, there's two extremes. There's that what I just described, where you just do everything they say. It becomes a game that's designed by committee, and you end up getting, say, the equivalent of Fuse back in the day that Insomniac did, because EA just but completely took the torch to it because they got focus testers and they ruined it. But then you get on the flip side, which is where Nintendo's largely existed, which is this: it's our way. We ignore you, and we'll make the game that we want to make, and you'll like it. And more often than not, they strike the mark. They're great like that. But Paper Mario is one of those franchises that has dwindled and failed and struggled, and people are begging for. We see the same sort of thing going with Pokemon over the journey as well. With kind of now admittedly a large portion of that community are arseholes. But we've seen the same sort of thing go on there, where people are pleading with them to go pursue a particular path, and they've just gone nope, and they've just bubbled along and just gone in their own way, and it's the franchise has lost a little bit of its shine. Yeah, they need to at least recognize and hear what the community is saying. Look for little ways to embed it, and maybe they go and create the next Paper Mario is essentially, it won't be entitled, but let's say it's the next Thousand Year Door 2. And if it doesn't work, they go, well, look, we did what you asked, and it didn't work, or you didn't buy it, or you didn't care, or reviewers didn't like it, whatever the case is, and we move on. And if it turns out to be a hit, they go, okay, well, here's our new foundation. We've got something that people like, people are buying, people love. Now let's tweak that. Like, let's keep the core of this and just fiddle with little things to make it different, to make it stand apart from what's come before. Yeah. That's more likely to work. Yeah. So I think it's the way they approach the design that needs to shift, as opposed to completely overhauling the franchise every single time with a new mechanic or whatever.
I believe that's been also their weakness as well, in creating basically creating a foundation for Paper Mario every time they release it. It's, please establish something, then take on its strengths and build upon that. Don't try and reestablish this franchise every time. Like, we understand you want to make something that's completely different every time. You can do that, but you can also keep its strong suits and follow up on them and build on it.
The problem that we've got is that the foundation of the franchise that you speak of isn't a mechanical one. Yeah. It's an aesthetic one. Yeah. And so they feel like they can do whatever they want with that, which is reasonable, because the fact that they've made a paper it does really open the floodgates to a lot of potential, but they need to have this aesthetic linchpin and something mechanically to kind of hinge the experience around. The 3D Marios, the 2D Marios haven't deviated, despite the fact that they're brilliant for a myriad of different ways. The core idea remains exactly the same. Yeah. The Zelda games, as much as I'm not the biggest Breath of the Wild guy, love that game. The core concept, and I know that that's an unpopular opinion, I'm not the biggest Breath of the Wild guy, but the core concept of Zelda and what you do and how you interact with the world has remained the same. Yeah. They've just added layers and layers and layers on top of it. Yeah. And Mario doesn't have that identity. Paper Mario, doesn't have that identity. It doesn't have that key concept in the middle there, because they keep chopping and changing it. Correct.
Look, my final thought on it is it's still a very good game. It's awesome to play. It's also, the narrative is really strong. Like, I said, the weakest point is probably its battle system, but it's still worth giving it a go. Might be for you. I don't know about it being for me per se. I still feel like it has its elements where I very much enjoy thinking about it's strategically thinking about how I'm going to attack my foes and everything, but I just feel like they overdid it, and it's kind of gonna, like I said, that younger audience are gonna find it a little bit confusing. So I don't know, man. I just feel like, I don't know, but it's a good game. I definitely would recommend.
I'm keen to give it a go.
Yeah, thanks to Nintendo Australia for providing the review code for that one.
Global gaming releases.
All right, Paj. It is now time for the Dash Gamer podcast. Global gaming releases for the next 2 weeks. Did you want to do it, or did you want me to do it?
I can do it.
Go
I've got the
for
list.
it.
I've got a whole bunch of shit highlighted here, so let's dive into it. And kicking things off this Friday. I suppose if you want to get technical, Rock of Ages 3 comes out the day that we record this. But who cares? It's already been gone by the time you listen to this. So,
yes.
The next big game on the slate is an Aussie title. It is a Melbourne title. It is Necrobarista.
Yes.
Now, the game's out on PC. It's also currently available on mobile via Apple Arcade. But the core release is available now on PC, or will be available on PC this Friday. It's Roki, PC. For some reason they say, and the list I'm looking at states Crisis Remastered for Switch. That ain't happening.
No.
So let's scratch that. Carrion is out this week.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the big Devolver game for the year.
Yeah.
I've tried that game several times and I don't like it.
Okay.
So I hope that the final release changes my tone. But
fair enough.
I've not been digging it so far. Grounded, the next game from Obsidian, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids title that's got some horror things that ignited patch this week. Steam Early Access / game preview on Xbox. That's July 28th. So that's next week. We're trending into next week here, but of course we're a fortnightly show. So you can add Destroy All Humans in there, Skater XL in there, whatever Maid of Skur is, maybe we ignore that. Ari and the Secret of Seasons. I'm just picking I'm cherry picking now. Blightbound, Steam Early Access, Fairy Tale, Yakuza Kiwami 2 for Xbox, and that's all that matters.
That's it. That's all the releases for the next 2 weeks on the Dash Gamer Global Gaming Releases list. Guys, if you didn't know, this has been the Dash Gamer podcast, our bi-weekly gaming podcast, where Paj, Betson, Joel, and myself come together and talk about the latest in the world of video gaming. Don't forget to follow us over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. You can follow Mr. Paul James on Twitter at Paul James Games. You can follow myself on Twitter at Dash Gamer. And don't forget to follow the show on YouTube, where you can give us a quick subscribe and click that bell. And also watch the VOD on dashgamer.com. Paj, this has
been a good episode.
It's been a really good episode. We got some good discussion out tonight.
I ranted for a while on a few occasions.
Guys, we'll catch you next week for Operation PlayStation, where myself and Paj will talk about the latest and greatest in PlayStation, and maybe a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima beforehand. So keep your eyes peeled on podcast feeds.
Like I haven't spoken enough about it.
But until then, take care, stay safe, wash your hands, because pandemic is still happening. God, wash your hands. Have you been wearing a mask outside?
Nah.
Are you serious? $200 fine, boy.
No, not in my region it isn't.
Oh, right, that's right. Oh, crap.
dashgamer.com